Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. Coming up, we're in Kent with top shot George Digweed and we're going fox shooting. George Digweed has just become world sporting champion for the 17th time. He is one of the only sportsmen to have won world championships across 4 decades. But he doesn't spend his whole life touring the globe being the one to beat. He also has his shoots to run and grounds to manage, whether it's pigeon, rabbit or, like tonight, fox control. The crops are starting to come in. Rapeseed and wheat are all being harvested, and without the cover it's a perfect opportunity to start hitting foxes, young and old. Tonight, George and his trusty lampman Willie are finally getting the chance to get on top of Charlie.
We've got a few fox problems at the shoot. We've been losing 1 or 2 pheasants and an odd duck or 2 to foxes. So basically we've been waiting for a lot of the corn to come off, which has only just come off. Everything's about 2 or 3 weeks late this year, and the moisture content in the rape is still pretty high. So whereas the rape would normally be off, they've been hanging back. A lot of it's come off now, although certain bits of it still haven't been. But we're going to go out, do the rape stubbles. There's a bit of winter linseed being cut and a little bit of wheat. So we're just going to have a look round and see if we can pick up, any odd foxes that are about. Kit I'm using tonight is a Seiko 223 Schmidt & Bender 8x56 scope, and I get a very good friend of mine to hand load the 223 ammunition, which is fairly hot. But the problem is at this time of year, the problem that I find with a 223, and probably I'd be better off using a 243s, because it's so fast and it's quite a light load, and we're shooting quite a lot on rape stubble. The bullets tend to just break up, and whilst you've got an absolute dead cert fox, if it touches a bit of rape stubble in between, it's not a dead cert fox. So I think perhaps a slightly heavier bullet, slightly heavier calibre at this time of year might work slightly better. And then when everything comes off, and you haven't got such long stalks, they cut the rape sort of that high. Well, a fox cub in a rape stalk that high, it's almost like trying to guide it through a wire mesh fence. So sometimes I think that we'd be better off shooting a slightly heavier calibre, but it's a tried and trusted tool and I like to stick with it.
We head off through the farm close to George's pheasant pens, Willie choosing a red filter because less is more.
It's a wild animal, and the idea is to try not to spook it as much as you can. So keep the lamp off it all the time, and keep it in the periphery so that you can just about see it, but you're not blinding it with the full beam of the light all the time. And then if George hasn't got enough light to shoot when it's within range, he'll just say okay and I'll give it a bit more. But all the time we can avoid putting it full on it, the better really.
After 20 minutes we see our first set of eyes, but the barks tell us he's not alone.
Okay.
George hits the one to the front, repositions and sends a second shot to the right. The dream team are working well. At this time of year, George and Willie will be out 3 times a week and in the past have taken out 20 foxes in a single night.
Well, we came into the field and there was Willie picked up a set of eyes at the far end of the field, and I turned and faced where the fox was coming from, and had a squeak, and it ran up. In fact, if you come over here, it ran up. There's a tram line here. The rape's cut fairly high, so as you can see there's like a run goes up through the middle of the field. It came running right up the tram line to us, and then because we were sort of slightly off at an angle, it came just off at an angle, and it was just starting to think, is there anything, is this right? And so I decided I'd shoot it. I shot that one at about 120 yards, and whilst Willie was lamping that, he could hear another one running through the rape stubble where I was squeaking, out on the right hand side, and I've shot another one out here, just out here to the right, which we'll go and find. You can see how high they've cut the rape stubble. You can't get a good idea of where it is. I would suggest it's up one of these tram lines somewhere. Where were we, Willie? Over there. I would suggest it's up this tram line here somewhere. There we are. Didn't like that.
And George knows he's protecting his expensive birds and, these days, young children.
So I should think it's out the same litter. It's a dog fox, that one, as opposed to a vixen. Just think of how many children's lives we're saving by doing this.
I see you grinning at me with that. Is that how you feel these days?
What?
Saving people's lives.
Saving children's lives. I mean, these foxes are man-eaters now, aren't they?
We're covering 3 bits of ground tonight, and although it's late, there's the drone of the combines working hard all around us. We stop a few times after Willie's beam hits a potential target. Then George chooses a higher position and starts making a right racket.
On a winter's night when it's frosty and it's echoing for miles, you can sit here and shoot 5 or 6 foxes from the same place because they're coming from so far. Willie, just have one flash round. We'll go down to Shepherd's. I'm bored of this now. I want to shoot something.
The polystyrene on glass travels across the valley. After 10 minutes, we prepare to move, but Willie spots another.
Is it? Have a look. Keep it forward. Where is it? Put a light on it. David, can you see that? Put a light rod on it, Willie. Can you see it? See it?
The best shot in the world finds his target. It's another young one.
Dog fox, 3/4 grown cub. Quite a long way. It was about 220 yards when I shot that. It's a right spot again.
The glass work then?
Pardon?
The glass work?
Yeah, it does, yeah. It just shows you how it must have come from a long way because we were squeaking for what, 10 minutes? So before that came. In fact, we were just about to pack up and move on, so it was a worthwhile effort.
It's our last port of call and it's about 1:30 AM and starting to get cool. It's a smaller area, but George wants to finish on a high. We stop and he gets his chance with number 4. It's the closest shot of the night, but it doesn't matter. The numbers have to be hit hard, and if you want anyone sorting the pests on your land, it's George and Willie, of course.
It's 4 less, but you're never gonna fill the void. They come from everywhere, so I know there's more out there, and we're probably, you know, for prime time, we're probably a week and a half too early, because, you know, although we've covered a lot of ground tonight, we would have covered twice as much ground in the same time had all the crops been off, and we've been able to cover more ground with the light. But you know, all the time we can keep chipping away and shooting 4s and 5s. You know, if you go 20 times, that's nearly 100. So, you know, you're never going to shoot the last one. And it's a big year for foxes this year. There's a lot of people shooting a lot of foxes. So, you know, as long as we keep doing our bit and they're not having too much trouble with the birds, and then I'm happy.
Shot.
In a regular series throughout the shooting season, we're joining shooting writer Mike Yardley for classic English game shooting with gunmaker William Evans. In this programme, it's Back to Basics.
Let's talk a little bit about safety. The first golden rule of safety: don't point a gun at something you're not willing to kill. Never, never let your gun pointed be at anyone. All the pheasants ever bred won't make up for one man dead. You've got to be constantly aware of this, and you mustn't let familiarity breed contempt. It doesn't matter if the gun is unloaded or loaded. Treat all guns as loaded and never point the muzzles at something that you don't wish to destroy. The second golden rule is always check that a gun is unloaded and unobstructed when you take it out of the slip, when you pick it up, when you pass it on to someone else, when you put it away. So you don't just check that the gun is unloaded, you check that it's unobstructed and you can see daylight through the barrels as well. Well, very exciting. We're in position, on peg. What am I thinking? Well, I've sorted out my personal admin. I've got my earplugs in. I've checked that I've got no obstructions in the barrels of my gun. I can see daylight. Put some cartridges in. Always very careful where you're pointing your muzzles. I sometimes close the gun behind the line, then bring it up so I can turn, so I'm never even bringing a closed gun through the beating line, always muzzle aware, always keeping an eye on where I'm pointing my gun. Right, what am I thinking about shooting? Well, I'm trying to relax. That's the paradox of shooting. It's all about relaxed concentration. I'm thinking I'm going to focus on the head or on the beak of every bird, and I'm thinking bum, belly, beak. I'm going to take the muzzles of the gun to the tail feathers of the bird and push through, keeping the gun moving after I've pulled the trigger. Don't rush the gun mount. The gun comes up, 1, 2, 3. You'll notice that my head stays still. I'm not bringing the gun to the shoulder and bringing my head down to the gun. I'm bringing the gun up to my face. 1, 2, 3. My chin is slightly down. I'm not looking up like this. If I look up like that, I end up mounting the gun on my jaw. So I start off in what I call a bird of prey position. There I am. I'm a predator. I'm looking for my target. 1, 2, 3. Let me show you that from the side. Sometimes as an exercise, I get people to do this in slow motion, as slowly as they can. And you'll see that as I mount the gun, my head is staying still, and the gun butt, the comb of the stock, is located in what's called the zygomatic arch, commonly known as the cheekbone. 1, 2, 3. I'm not forcing my head down, I'm not squashing my head down, and nor am I lifting my head up. One of the commonest sins in shooting is to lift your head. You must keep your head down on the stock as you pull the trigger, and you must keep your head down as you follow through. Now, another point about the gun mount is as you mount the gun, you should come up to the line of the bird. You shouldn't go above the line of the bird and zigzag and make a correction. It should be one smooth, flowing, coordinated movement. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
We're here on the Staffordshire-Derbyshire border, learning just how hard gamekeepers have to work at this time of year. Well, Gary, you've got your work cut out at the moment. What time did you get up this morning?
This morning I got about 5 o'clock to be feeding for 6 o'clock. Just starting off going around the pens, checking your poults, feeding your pheasants, and I normally do the ducks later on in the morning.
I thought keepers only really worked very hard during the season. I mean, I didn't think they actually had to do very much now. Surely the pheasants raise themselves, don't they?
No, it's a tall order. Some estates rear their own birds from chicks, even got their laying stock. Here we buy in at the moment. So even though we buy in, we've missed a little window of rearing, but we still got to do our vermin control, get the pens ready, and everything else. Being organic, we can't go around pen spraying, nothing like that. So we've got a lot of strimming involved. So even though we've got a little bit less work to do as such with handling game, we've got other side to do.
So as well as everything else, the boss wants you to keep it organic as well.
Yeah, it's all organic here as well. so we have got a work cut out for game crops and everything else. So it is a tall order to get everything to work.
Now I joined you when you were feeding the duck this morning. You seem to have them pretty well trained to come to the whistle. Like that could be handy on shoot days, couldn't it?
Yeah, no, it does help. We've got lack of cover on this estate, so we can keep birds on the whistle. There's a bit of benefit for us, and we know we can pull them from drive to drive. It just makes it a bit easier for us, but it's still, it's not totally easy. You've got still hard work to get them there.
Yeah.
A lot could go wrong.
I can see all that bracken, so that all dies out, does it, for the shooting season?
By Christmas time, all the bracken's gone, so the woods are quite bare. That's why we have them on the whistle, so we can pull the birds from the bottom of the banks up to the top, just so we got them there, because hopper feeding won't work here at the minute.
No.
It's something we could look into in the near future. We've done a lot of planting on the estate, but that's not quick fix. That's always stuff that's looking for the future of the shoot.
Yeah.
So one day, hopefully, it'll be a lot better.
Now there were some birds I was quite surprised to see on shoot. Black swans, white geese. They're not for shooting, I'm guessing.
No, they're not for shooting at all. It's just more for sight purposes. For guns to go around and see something different on the lakes. They just like seeing stuff like that.
So the boss has got you in charge of the ornamental waterfowl as well as everything else?
Yes, that's it, yes.
Okay. So the boss wants you to look after the land. There's a lot of tree planting going on here. How about the pheasants? I mean, what if they get ill?
Basically, the pheasants on an organic estate, you can treat them. You can do it as a welfare purpose, because nobody wants to see birds get disease and end up dying. No. It's just uncalled for. It gives shooting a bad name, it gives the estate a bad name, it gives me a bad name, because I'm the one in charge of it here. So we can treat them. So what we do, we take them off to the local vets, and they tell us what to give them for, say it's hexameter, coxy, or what have you, and we treat them and down that course, and we get them sorted.
And that doesn't affect the organic status of the
No,
place?
no, you're fine on that. There's even like the worming of the pheasants. If they go down bad with worms, does anybody want to see fin pheasants snicking and dying? I don't want to see it, you don't want to see it, and Joe Public don't want to see it.
But the boss wants you to keep off the chemicals.
As best we can. Full stop, we should keep off them. Like I say, game crops, we can't put any fertilisers on them, slug pellets, anything like that. So we've had to re-drill 1 or 2 game crops, and we've had a serious think about what we can do with game crops this year. We're planning for the future, so we mixed the canary grass, borage, utopia, mixture in. It won't do very good for this year, because as soon as the frost comes, the borage will go. But in years to come, the canary grass should take hold and give us sufficient cover to hold the pheasants and make life a bit easier. Well, that's the plan, but whether it works that way or not, is a different subject.
Well, should we go and have a look at some of that cover crop? I don't want to hold you up too much today.
Yeah, no, that's no problem at all.
Grand. Good. So this is borage.
Borage and Phacelia.
See that in your pims, don't you? Borage.
That's right, yes. Yeah, so it's all right, it's doing well, but come the first frost, this will be gone.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's not very hardy.
No.
So we'll play it by ear, but we're looking long term for the canary grass next year, and you have to come up through, and that's what we're planning for.
So it's a very green outlook to this estate, obviously. But you're driving a diesel-powered JCB groundhog. Is that green?
It can be. It's 50 miles per gallon, but you can also put 20% biofuel in it. So you can do that. So it can be green.
That is pretty green, really.
So it's a start at the end of the day. We're doing our little bit.
Yep. And as far as use is concerned, I mean, is it handy as a shoot vehicle, as a keeper's vehicle?
I quite like it. For going through your pens to feed in. We don't tear the ground up. You can go where Land Rovers can't go. It's a lot better on wet ground. It's a light vehicle. You don't tear the fields up driving across it. You can see the fields are quite nice. So yeah, no, it is a nice little vehicle to have where Land Rover's heavier and sinks in.
Well, they all look pretty healthy.
It doesn't look too bad at all at the moment.
Now your natural way of looking after them does include lead, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes, it does, yes.
Because you've got to deal with the vermin, haven't you?
That's right, you know, you've got, there's a lot of things that want to kill your pheasants as such. You know, our roles are, we've got to, you know, try and keep them alive. And have an outcome at the end of the day for the guns.
So you've got about 4,000 acres here. How many foxes do you take off this?
It normally take between 80 to 100 a year.
Golly, yeah.
It's quite bad here. But if you don't do that, then you know you've got a considerable amount of pheasants that are killed. You know, it's not one or two they take; they will come and kill, you know, 100 quite easily outside the release pens. Especially this time of year when the birds are just starting to find their wings, just starting to roost. They go up in the trees, fall out of the trees in the morning, as I say, fly out of the trees in the morning, land on the grass, a bit dopey in the mornings. Fox come along, and they kill just for fun.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if they just had one or two, just for themselves to eat. But as it is, they're just killing machines.
It's a bonanza, isn't it? Every
you know.
time, yeah. And I suppose all this bracken here makes it hard to find them at this time of year.
Yeah, no, it does. It is hard to find. A lot of our pest control through lamping of a night time,
Yeah.
which you do in the big open fields. It's a humane way of doing it, I feel. You know, you have a shot at a fox, you make sure it's in close enough to kill it. We don't certainly shoot to wound anything. We always, you know, go to kill something. And if it's too far, you don't shoot at it.
No. Sure.
You know, you always want to make sure it's 100% clean kill, and that's what I try and do.
And also part of your kind of tidy outlook is cleaning up foxes, rabbits, squirrels, that kind of thing.
All sorts. Like I say, foxes, rabbits, squirrels, they all do damage. Not to the pheasants as such, but rabbits to game crops. Squirrels, they cause a lot of havoc to your hoppers, or eat the plastic off the hoppers. We planted a lot of trees. They do damage to the trees. And also you've got your stoats and weasels that do damage. Of course, they can get through the wire on your release pens.
Now this old Brunei looks like it's had a certain amount of rounds through it.
Yes, no, it is an old thing. It's got to be 15-year-old now.
Good. Yeah. Well, you've got a fabulous place here. I do envy you.
No, it's nice and peaceful. And
would you have a job anywhere else?
No, I wouldn't change it for the world. It's a passion of mine. I've always wanted to do keepering. I couldn't see myself doing anything else. In keeping, you've got your pros and cons. You know, we've got to be outdoors when it's hammering down with rain feeding pheasants. End of the day, they're livestock and they need feeding.
Yeah.
You've got to be up early hours in the morning, late hours at night, at, you know, certain times of the year. But no, I wouldn't change it for the world. It's something that, you know, I'd certainly want to think I'm doing it or retire, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good enough for me, that one.